In 2021, a ruling by the Washington State Supreme Court changed the legal landscape around drug possession in our state. Known as the Blake decision, it struck down Washington's drug possession law as unconstitutional. That means thousands of people convicted of simple drug possession on or before February 25th, 2021 may now be eligible to have those convictions vacated and erased from their criminal records. Those old convictions can create lasting barriers to housing, jobs, and education, even years later. Faraji Blakeney, whose own sentence was shortened because of the Blake decision, and attorney Corey Gilmet are here to share more. Thank you both for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, Faraji, welcome back, because you were on for an amazing program called Yoga Behind Bars. And Corey, it's very nice to meet you. I want to start with you, Corey. What does the Blake decision affect?
Yeah, so the Blake decision affects hundreds of thousands of convictions in Washington. We don't know the exact number, but somewhere between 330,000 and 600,000 convictions between 1971 and 2021. Anyone who is convicted of drug possession, as you explained in the introduction, is eligible to have their conviction vacated. So over the past 5 years since the Supreme Court decision in 2021, we've eliminated about 160,000 of those convictions, which means there's a lot to go. There's $33 million of unclaimed refunds that are sitting with the state of Washington that people are eligible to have refunded. So it's wide-ranging impacts, and we're here today to help spread the word about how to get help.
Do you think that's one of the most important things, is just spreading this, because not a lot of people know maybe about the Blake decision and what it can do for them? Yeah,
exactly. I think it's not everyone's monitoring state Supreme Court decisions, right? And so I think it's important for people to be aware of what their rights are, because it should be pretty easy to be able to get the conviction taken off your record. But in many cases, you have to take the first step.
Definitely. And Faraji, I want to get to you. Tell me what the Blake decision changed for you in your life.
The Blake decision changed life for me. It put me back in front of the courts while I was still incarcerated, and it gave me a chance to advocate for myself. I did have an attorney at that time, but he wasn't advocating for my humanity and the change in the law, but more so the change in my being. Just everything was different about me when I was in front of that judge on that day in 2021. And I didn't know all the residue that having a charge that is no longer supposed to be on your record, what implications could happen through fatherhood, through education, through so many different avenues towards liberation. It was a process to understand how many things that I got restored by this law being changed, and let alone being unconstitutional, meaning retroactively they could go back all the way. Did you say 71, right, Corey?
1971.
1971.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I know, and I want to talk about that, the real world implications that you just mentioned with someone convicted of a drug crime, even when they're no longer serving time. So tell me about those, because we listed some of that in the intro: housing, employment. I
would say biggest thing as a father and a grandfather, I would say the rights to be active with your children in school, like maybe a field trip, maybe you want to lead the parent-teacher conference, and having crimes that deem you unfit, or whoever's judging it, besides a judge that's getting paid and voted to judge, somebody's looking at your background and saying, hey, you don't have a right to be a father. Education, social services. When I was a young parent, I was denied social services, and I needed that support. And then without that support, it was more likely for me to go back into the drug world for needs being met of my young children. So I think the intersectionality of parenthood and crimes, and still, no matter if I'm a felon or not, I'm still a father. This law came off the books, but the amount of money, $33 million, that is all of my children's education, all the time that I was away from them. That is financial literacy, being able to go to school and apply yourself and apply your capacity to learn I learned in the streets. I learned, and it was math, it was fractions, it was dividing and all that. And it's just amazing that there's $33 million of unclaimed refunds for State versus Blake, and that it'll be even more. And at the end of the day, that money's not going back into the communities most impacted.
Corey, I want to, this is now law, convictions overturned, but many haven't done the paperwork, like you mentioned, to remove it. They need to take that first step. So what are the steps?
Yeah, so I think the steps really vary depending on the court. I think the one thing that I think I want people to walk away with is that if you go to the Washington State Office of Public Defense's website, you can navigate on their website, and they have a phone number you can call to speak with someone, and they'll let you know, do I have a Blake conviction? And if so, how do I get help? And they can connect you with an attorney who can go through the process. In most courts, that means you don't actually have to go back to court. You just have to authorize an attorney, and they'll submit the paperwork, and they'll vacate your conviction. And what Faraji was talking about, that those $33 million, if you paid any money to the court, you're eligible to have that money refunded to you. So that's huge, right? That's a lot of money. That's thousands or tens of thousands of dollars.
Can make all the difference in your family and your life moving forward.
Exactly.
What's keeping someone from getting this removed from their record?
I think people just need to know about it. And I think people need to be able to request help. And, I think the courts are burdened. They're overtaxed. And so, people can seek relief, but we also need courts to be able to proactively do it, right? Because we're not going to be able to reach the hundreds of thousands of people impacted. We'll try to reach as many as we can. But in the absence of that, we know these convictions have to be removed from someone's record, and the courts need to be going through and proactively vacating these convictions. So regardless of whether you know about Blake or not, you're still entitled to have those rights returned to you that Faraji mentioned.
Thank you so much for being here and shedding light on such an important topic. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if you think you have a conviction that's eligible to be vacated, you should contact the Office of Public Defense. There's a specific hotline for the Blake decision, and we'll post that on our website. We'll also have details where you can go to seek a refund for fees paid.